Lee Kerry's life in fishing. So, as with everybody, we'll start. Where did it all begin? How did you get into fishing? Where did you go? And who used to take you?
I used to go fishing a bit with my dad. My dad was a very successful sea angler. And we'd go sea fishing a bit, and he used to go carp fishing as well. And when I went carp fishing, I'd catch a few riding that on a waggler. Badly. Stick them in a bucket, let them, watch them swim around for a couple of hours, tip them back. You ain't got a clue, have you? You throw some stones in.
Yeah.
And then I just wasn't really interested because my dad did it, and
It's not cool if your
it
dad
wasn't
does.
cool because my dad did it. And then a couple of my mates went to school, and I sort of said, "Oh, my dad's got some fishing stuff. I'll come with you." And
Then it becomes cool.
yeah, and we started going. Drop us off. We go down the river on our bikes. I always remember going down the hill on my bike and getting to the end and put my brakes on, and my pole just went across the road. I'm like, oh no, Dad's gonna kill me. And it sort of grew from there. I think there's a lot of mystery involved, and you go out, you catch like 3 perch and a roach, great day.
Yeah.
Great day. Caught a roach, it's a great day, right? And then next time you go, you'd hook a spawny big perch, and and it grows from there. And that was how it sort of started for me. And then I went to I joined a club, Rockware Angling. That's just come to me. I couldn't have written that down. Rockware Angling Club, and there was 15 or so members there. Nice guys. Couple of very good anglers.
Was that like an older anglers? Was that?
Yeah,
more,
it was older anglers.
Yeah.
There wasn't anyone really. There was probably a couple of mid-30-year-old guys there, but obviously I was like 13, 14. I thought they were all a million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just what you do, and they think you're a cocky kid, which is what you are, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
That's quite interesting, actually. You saying that everyone's like, oh, you go to matches and there's no young anglers there, but you're saying the same sort of thing there, where
it's exactly the same.
Out of that group of you're the youngest by about 30 years. Or
Yeah, but I was, but massively, and it was good. We used to fish a few commercials. I lived in Norwich, and I fished there for 2 or 3 years, and I did all right. I never did brilliant. I wasn't a standout young angler. I mean, I was next to Charlie Riches at the weekend from Ireland, who's 14. He's like as good as I was at 25.
Yeah.
It's like I think the standard of younger anglers, there's so much more information now, so they're higher anyway. But anyway, I did a bit of that, and then I fished an open match. And my big break is, people who know me have heard this story a million times, but it's a great story. I used to go in this little tackle shop, and it was literally a counter with stuff behind it, and there was a chap in there who had stumbled across this cat meat that was. It was like a magical bait. It was just, it was frightening. And we took this cat meat, and he said, "Look, try it." And I went pleasure fishing, emptied it, and I entered the open, and I won the match with £98.
£98.
Yeah. On a rod, I fished a Drennan squat float
Yeah.
with a cane tip off my rod end with cat meat. I mean, caught £98.
Bet Macy next to you loved that day, didn't he?
He did not like that day. Nobody liked that day, to be fair. Who is this? I was 16, and I fished a handful of matches with this meat, and I won. Like, you draw the rubbish end and obliterate your section. It was just crazy. And then word got out what it was, and everybody started catching on it. But it sort of propelled me locally to somebody that people knew in fishing. So I went and worked in Tom Bolton's fishing tackle shop, and then I realised it wasn't all about cat meat. So I went on the River Yare and those sort of things, and I joined the team, which is all it was. It was just all team fishing. It was out and out team fishing. I fished in that team, Normark Blue Fox they were called, and we had it was a great team. It was based around Tom Bolton's team, some stunning anglers in it, really good guys, and we fished a few matches. I didn't even get in the team that often, to be honest, and then we.
But a young angler learning off of other anglers.
Yeah, I used to learn off a lot of them, and there was a battle we used to fish against Colmick Triangle, brilliant names, right? And they were Will Freeman was the captain, and they were the arch rivals. We hated them, didn't like them. Nobody talked to each other in the pub. It's quite funny, really, when I think back at it. 12 teams of 12 in the Winter League every year, brilliant fishing, and the River Yare and places like that, and you get a lot of. You suddenly realise that you're miles behind, and you're then trying to learn which was then the old-fashioned way. Not seem like I'm old, but there wasn't. I read a magazine.
Yeah.
or I'd ask the angler what I'm doing. You know, what
Yeah.
is it?
You'd
what
actually
am I doing
talk to
wrong?
another human being.
I know. Can you believe that? And you're proper crazy,
Yeah.
crazy times back then. We'd talk to each other and everything. You know, not WhatsApp group. So, yeah, and that was brilliant. I mean, it was a brilliant time, and caught a lot of fish. You know, and the grounding was catching amounts of fish. You know, and I remember thinking that, you know, I was good at catching a lot of fish. I used to catch a lot of fish on commercials, and that was sort of where I was better. You know,
Yeah.
if there was a lot of fish to be caught, I'd do well.
Yeah.
You know, if I just make a lot of mistakes, which, you know, you going to make. So that, but it was a great time. And then I went to an England trial when I was 17, and I had a good trial.
Who was in charge of the England setup at that
Mark
point?
Downs was in charge. Under 18s, that was 2000, and I was 17 years old. I went to an England trial with people that we know now. Brett Clark, who you just mentioned. I drew next to Brett in the trial, and a few others. And it was an interesting time. I mean, we went to the trial was at Clatico. I'll never forget, and it was terrible fishing.
Where's
Milton
abysmal.
Keynes way, isn't it?
Is it? It was a million miles from Norwich. That's all I know. It's in the Midlands, isn't it, Clatico?
No, I'm sure if it's the same one I'm thinking of.
It's big reservoir. Big.
Yeah, it's right. It's near to what's the other one in Milton Keynes that Ringer fishes a bit. Done a few features on.
Thurston?
Yeah, I'm sure it's that.
it?
It's on the same that Milton Keynes angling ticket. If it's the same.
I've got no idea. But
yeah.
it was like
One of the venues.
2
you
days
go
drive
to.
from Norwich, you know, because everywhere was, and it was terrible fishing. And to Mark's credit, I caught a few carp. I remember I caught 3 carp, and for 10 pegs either side of me, the next best was 1, and one of my 3 was foul hooked. Get in. So I think it made me look a
Sneaked
bit
it in.
better. And Mark said, "Look, I can't really choose the team based on this, so we'll go to somewhere else next week." And we went to Earlswood when they just
Earlswood
stocked it
Reservoir.
with them little carp.
Yeah.
It was a joke.
Is that the Engine Lake? Or,
Yeah. It was just. I mean, honestly, it was just lift off.
Because you were going to go to River Arno in Italy.
That's
I believe,
right.
is
Yeah,
that
yeah. It was carp fishing. Choose a similar venue, and it was brilliant. I fed a ball of chuck, and I won both trials. It was just catching a lot of fish, which I think just dropped on for me. You know, if it had been bloodworm and joker, I didn't even know what that was. In Norfolk didn't have that, and but I caught a lot of fish, and you know, to Mark's credit, he gave me a chance. So there was 5 18-year-olds in the team. Ben Townsend, who fishes now, who didn't fish for a while, but you wouldn't look at the picture. I don't think you know any of the others because they don't go fishing anymore.
Yeah.
But you know, and we went and came second and got a silver medal and won my section, and that for me was the start of the love of international fishing. You know, that was it. That was nothing else mattered really. So
yeah, and that you mentioned there at that stage in your angling, team fishing was massive. It's what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that hasn't changed. So in terms of, so it's still your focus looking at what you do now. What is it about fishing team events that most appeals to you?
I think it's that fishing is a very selfish sport, and when you get involved in the individual thing. So let me give you an example with Jamie Hughes. Right, Jamie Hughes, who you mentioned earlier, was just one. Jamie's a great angler, and Jamie wins, and everybody claps, but nobody's really as happy as Jamie. He's the happiest man, right? He's the guy who's won.
And his wife, most probably.
His wife's probably pretty chuffed, yeah. But, you know, and people are pleased for him, no doubt. When you win as a team, you win together. So the emotion of that victory is equalled by everybody, and you lose together as well. And there's a dynamic of a team, a social aspect that for me means everything. And if you're with a team, you need to be with like-minded individuals, people who are prepared to put the same effort in as you, people who are prepared to travel like you are. And I've been in lots of teams in my life, and some of those teams had people who didn't want to do that, or different ages. The first team I talked about, there was a couple of guys in there, a bit older, been there, done it. Mm-hmm. They didn't want to go practicing, weren't interested, just wanted to rock up on the day. Didn't want to really listen to a tactic, just wanted to fish their own way. Brilliant anglers,
yeah.
But you can't continue like that. So for me, that made team fishing the appeal, and obviously I just continue to strive to fish in better and better teams because I wanted to be better and do better. And I joined Browning Hot Rods, which was just an incredible time in my life. I mean, it just taught me that team fishing was for me. We used to go practicing every Saturday, guaranteed practice for whatever was coming up next. So if there was a winter league the following week, we'd go and practice the venue. If the winter league was the next day, they banned you from fishing on the venue the day before. So we used to go to the next one. So we would fish every Saturday for a practice. And there'd be 6 or 8 of us there. Then we'd go down the pub, single guy. It was just brilliant. I just used to think it was the best thing ever. Yeah. And that camaraderie is what meant everything to me in fishing. So when I talked to you, or we mentioned in the matchcast about the fishing, when you fish a big match individually and you catch nothing, you don't want to be there. There's no interest. I'm not interested. I want to pack up and go home. There's no incentive. When you fish a team match,
you're still doing it for the team.
If I'm in the worst half and I come the best of the worst half, I have done astonishingly well, and everybody pats me on the back, and I'm driven by that. Even if I'm in the worst 3 pegs in the section and I can be the best of the 3, that is what matters. And that to me meant every time I went fishing it mattered. And I couldn't put the amount of effort in that I do and not be rewarded as much, because fishing's naughty. It is naughty, and I nearly swore there, but fishing is naughty. So fishing doesn't always reward you. And if you're down, and I know a lot of people like this, they go chasing the dream. They're good anglers, and they're
broken at the end.
They're broken, aren't they? And their love for fishing is broken, and you see it all the time. And that's why I love team fishing. That is what drives me towards team fishing, and always will.
And so, what are your thoughts at the moment? There's a lot of discussion. We've discussed it on the Matchcast that team fishing is in decline. One thing for certain, Drennan Barnsley Blacks as a team are not in decline. You're definitely fact. Very dominant at the moment, stronger than ever. Division 1 winners 2 years running now.
3 out of 4.
3 out of 4. World Club Champ silver medal this year as well. But there's still that overriding factor that, as a whole, team fishing's in decline. What are your thoughts?
Well, you can't argue with that. That is a fact. I actually think team fishing is changed rather than declined. So, and I, the way I portray that is like this. 5 years ago, I was worried for the future of team fishing, but events crop up which encourage you to fish as a team. I'll give you an example. Tunnel barn teams of 4. That's team fishing. You're a team of 4.
There's a lot. To be fair, there's a lot of winter leagues that are doing it now.
Like that aren't registered angling trust. They're just local winter leagues. A pairs match is a team match, right? So, I suggested to the Angling Trust about 5 years ago, if it was me and I was in charge, I would have gone, right, we're having a reset switch. You ain't gonna like it, but it's teams of 5, everything you do, and it is a maximum of 10 people in your squad, which gives you effectively double the amount of people. The trouble is with team fishing, take Barnsley Blacks as an example, we've got 20 anglers in the squad, 20 fantastic guys. How many 10-peg team matches do we fish? Right? Not many. We fish the national, winter leagues are 8 men. That means that 10 or 12 people are not going fishing that weekend because they can't be in the team as well. I disagree with that. So if you effectively had 5 people in a team, teams wouldn't go with squads of 10. They'd end up being 6 or 7 blokes because 5 would be able to commit and they need a couple of extras. All of a sudden, you're driving more people to go fishing. And I'll give you the perfect example. The Feeder Masters Super League with Sony Baits was teams of 4. So we've created that on teams of 4. And last year, this is an event that was unknown 3 years ago. We had 74 teams of 4 apply. That is ridiculous. Right, so that is not in decline. Every year, that is getting more and more applications to the point where we're going to run 2 qualifiers next year to give more people the chance. And that is because of how it is structured.
Yeah, I think the logistics side of getting 4 people together, it's a lot of people can be like, yeah, I've got 3 mates I know, fish with regularly, sort of team out. But suddenly if you're on 8, 10 people or whatever,
And what did I mention first of all? I said about you've got to fish with like-minded people.
yeah.
So when you're in a 10, right, and you're scraping 10, so you fish for a team and you put maximum effort in along with 4 others, 3 are not that bothered and 2 have just made up the numbers, you don't want to be there. Because those 2, if they draw well, they'll do all right, but they've not the same commitment as you. When you get 4 or 5-man teams, the commitment's massive. Nowhere in Europe has more than 5-man teams. And team fishing is huge in Europe. Huge. And that is because it generates people together and glues people together as mates. And with Barnsley Blacks, we've got a squad of 20. We've got a core of about 10 or 12. And then we've got 5 guys who are fishing the World Club. So there's like 3 or 4 little bonds there in between us all. And it's brilliant. And everybody knows their place and they want to look for this or they want to do that or they want to fish this particular match. You get some guys who only want to fish commercials. Nick Speed's in Barnsley, brilliant angler. You know, when we have commercial matches or something feeder based, he's forward. In squats on the canal, he's probably not so bothered. You know, it allows him to do what he's got to do. And that's how a team needs to be run, but it's almost impossible. You can't have all these teams running it. So for me, I don't think people are in decline of team fishing. I just think team fishing has warped in its way of fishing,
and it's got to change to keep it growing in a way.
Yeah, it's got. Listen, everything does. Everything has to continue to re-energise people and generate their interest, and that's what that Super League has done. You know, that is a nationwide Super League. You travel all over the country, and people are desperate to be in it, and that is because I feel the format is right for bonding people together. So, and that's why I mean, you know, I don't fish with Barnsley in that team. I fish with Barnsley. Have got a team in there. It's the only thing I ever fish against Barnsley for. It's quite funny, but when we're in a Preston Innovations team, there's only 4 of us. We don't have a 5th member. There's 4 of us because, sorry, Rich, I'm banging on the table on that. There's 4 of us because the 4 people in the team will commit to every single match, and that's essential. So.
Speaking of feeder, again, you this year, or well, I believe it's this year, you went for the first time with the team to the World Championships.
I'm going to correct you on that. Last year I went, but yeah.
Last year, okay.
Yeah, in
so,
Italy.
You sort of changed your focus because you were sort of you were travelling with the float team a little bit, going out with them. Sort of changed your focus towards the feeder side of things rather than the float side.
Yeah.
Slotted straight in, obviously doing pretty well with the feeder game,
We're
feeder king, feeder master. What sort of made your mind up to do that? What was it that made you change from the float side and focusing on that, going over to the feeder team? And
so for me, the team fishing thing, as you well know, is important. And the bottom line is I love match fishing. Be it a commercial, wherever it is, I love it. I absolutely love match fishing. Excuse me. And I love sport at a high level. I follow all sorts of sports, and I've got a lot of pride when I watch England in sport. So from a young age, England, fishing, I wanted to combine the two. Now, for years, there was only ever a float team. Did the under-18s, did everything that I needed to do there. That I had a chance at under-21s because only under-18s existed. So there was only the float team to progress towards, and that was my sole aim. I didn't see anything else, you know. Every match I chose was based on performing in float fishing. I'd go practicing float fishing techniques. If I felt I was rubbish at something, I'd purposely go out and hunt that direction to be better at it because that was the goal. And I'm quite like that, you know. I think most people know I'm very specific in what I'm looking for, and for me, that was the only route. And the feeder team began. And when the feeder team first began, Tommy came and spoke to me and said, "Are you interested?" And I said, "Look, I'll be honest. I know that you want only one or the other, and I've been on this path for so long. That's what I want to do." And I fished. I went to 3 European Championships and fished a couple of home internationals. And for whatever reason, it wasn't what I wanted it to be in terms of Probably. I don't ever feel it's ability. I just never feel like it probably went for me, and maybe the management didn't rate me as highly as they thought. I can't really say. I don't really have the answers. And then a European Championships came, and I wasn't included, and I just felt very disillusioned. You know, I just thought I can't believe that this is happening, because every result on paper. You know, I won the Census Challenge twice. That was the only match in the UK that you could fish to international rules. I was a regular in Barnsley's World Club team, getting top 3 results in the section at World Club level, and I wasn't getting the chance. And when I went to the European Championships first year, I had a decent year, but there was a couple of things that I wasn't very good at. I was poor bleak fishing. I went out and put a massive effort in to correct that, and then ended up winning my section Census Challenge the following year with bleak. You know, everything was right, but it just, for whatever reason, it just probably wasn't seen in the right way or whatever. So when I wasn't included, which is fair enough, a manager is allowed to make their own choices. Tommy picked up the phone to me, and he just said to me, "Look, feeder fishing might be a better direction for you. You know, I really appreciate everything you do, all your focus, everything that you've done in fishing. You know, you're a brilliant feeder angler. Would you like to come and be part of it?" So I went along just to see the guys in Portugal, and I committed to it, and I made a massive change, because like I said at the beginning of this, I don't love feeder fishing over anything else. I love fishing.
Yeah.
You know, I love match fishing. I will do whatever the match fishing is I have to do to achieve the goals I want to do, because I realised 5 or 6 years ago it's impossible to do everything. I could never have done the float fishing journey and done what Jamie Hughes does.
Yeah.
You can't do it. It cannot be done. That's why Jamie Hughes doesn't fish for England, because he would have to sacrifice all that he's doing, as an example, to get in the England team, because the styles are so uniquely different. So I set off on a feeder journey, and I must admit, it blew my mind. I mean, I went and thought, okay, let's see how we get on, and I caught a few, and I went to Inniscarra with the lads, and I was miles behind them. I was 10% behind them for definite, and I came back. I actually went with my dad to that festival, and I said, look, I'm 10% behind these guys. I've got to look at all these aspects and see what I can do and make better, and I've loved that. I've loved that journey. You know.
Do you feel almost like, with feeder fishing suddenly becoming so big relatively quickly, it's almost it's a bit of a like reset switch on fishing, where it's brought everyone back to almost a level playing field? Obviously there's a few, but with not so much of it about.
Well, nobody's ever gone and fished feeder on all different venues just a feeder. And Tommy said to me, he said, look, until you're faced with a water where you can only fish a feeder, you won't fish like that. So we used to go to a venue, and you'll have done this as well, and everybody watching will have done the same. You set up a feeder rod, you set up your pole, you might set up your waggler, right? And you chuck your feeder out, and it doesn't go round. So what you don't do is sit there and try and figure out how to get it to go round. You wind it in, put it down, and pick your pole up.
Else, yeah.
Of course you do, right? And because that's we're any method country. So with the float fishing, what made the float anglers so much better is that they have to make the float work.
Yeah.
Be that earth bonus fish or little fish or bleak or whatever that might be, and the feed is exactly the same. So all of a sudden you're 2 lines. So like exactly what you said, Rich, nobody's done this. This is completely new. Yes, there was anglers who only fish feeders, but they'd fish for bream.
Yeah.
They wouldn't fish like a roach line for feeder or little skimmers. If they're not catching a bream, how are they going to get their points? That just didn't happen. And obviously that journey has made the feeder anglers that are doing it so much better. And you know, I've absolutely loved that. I mean, I just couldn't believe the intricacies and the differences. And when I went to fish international matches, all of a sudden I thought, this is brilliant. I'm not limited by 13 metres. I'm limited. I've got the whole water in front of me. What am I going to target? You generally catch bigger fish because you're feeder fishing. And it just blew my mind. And it's not, you know, and now I just absolutely love it. And you know, I had a full commitment of the management in Tommy, and now Dean's taken over, and they put their arm around you and want to include you, and it motivates you to go fishing and be successful, and I'm loving that at the moment. But as you know, this year I've been to the World Club Championships with Barnsley float fishing, so I fished the Division 1 National, which is float fishing. I went to Evesham and fished the team match, which is float fishing. So I don't just go feeder fishing. I go fishing with a focus on feeder. That's how it's best described.
Yeah.
And before I used to go fishing with a focus on float, but I still do incredibly high level float matches all year round.
As much as you're doing that, that's where your focus lies at the moment. Is there still aspirations at any point for the float side of things? Maybe if circumstances change or if anything happened?
I think, I'm 36 years old. I like to think that I've got, years ahead of me fishing international matches. You just don't know what's going to happen in terms of fishing. Feeder international, that was unheard of 10 years ago. It was complete unheard of. So we just don't know what's going to happen. So no, I never rule anything out. Absolutely not. I think there's certain anglers in both teams that could do both. And I think that you have to focus on one now because the standard is so high. It is so high on every international match. If you rocking up half at it, you're not doing it. You're just not doing it. So you focus on one, and you just don't know, do you? Maybe in the future, the feeder management might think I'm not good enough. Maybe there's 6 better feeder anglers than me that need to go, and there isn't 6 better float anglers. You just do not know. So basically what happened to me was there was 6 better float anglers in the management's eyes to go float fishing. And in the feeder eyes, I'm classed as one of the 6 they want to take. So that's what you have to do.
Because when it comes down to team selection, do you find is there a certain amount of, obviously they've got to get as good of anglers as possible, but there's that point that everyone's got to work and gel together as well.
And that's massive, Rich. That for me, that is absolutely massive and a major aspect of team fishing. So if I was a manager, that would be what I look at, and that's what makes Barnsley such an incredible team. And they really, such a great team. We all gel and bond brilliantly. There's no such thing as a daft question. There's no such thing as a daft comment. Yes, we take the mick, but nobody abuses anybody. And there's a reality there. What are we doing? How can we do this better all the time?
I think that in terms of, you just said there, yes, you take the mick. I think that is almost as important. Well, no, not as important, but that is so important to a team.
Important.
Because if it's always all serious and all anybody talks about in your WhatsApp group, because that's how everybody communicates these days on WhatsApp, if all anybody talks about in there is tactics, gets a bit boring.
Oh, yeah.
If you're actually mates telling each other and helping each other, taking the mick out of each other a little bit as well, I think that just gets the team so much closer together. And it's when there's somebody in a team where they can't take that, you kind of realise that they might not actually be part of that. They might not be right for that team because they're not as an angler they might be brilliant, but if they can't fit the way that your team acts or your team are, when you're out in public, you don't really get on with them. It just doesn't work.
No, that's right. I mean, 75% of the WhatsApp for Barnsley is taking the mick.
And Matt Godfrey putting dodgy videos on. which you see forwarded. Like I'll get a message. Oh, it's Matt. Should I watch it?
I deleted him off the Barnsley WhatsApp group and told him he can only come back if he stops that. So anyway, but we have it great. But that also applies to the feeder team, and it was the same in the float team. There's a great atmosphere was in the float team. Never fished with Will Raisin, for example, locally, but whenever we did something together, great atmosphere, great guy, got on well, wanted to talk about fishing, wanted to have a laugh, to the point where when we qualified with Fisho together, he's ringing me up, can we share, let's talk about information. Yeah. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Those people are brilliant,
That's one thing people maybe don't see with Will. Will, when he's on fishing, is so on fishing, so focused, so determined, wants to win.
Yep.
However, Will in public is a big laugh, loves it.
Yeah, he's one of
the lads.
He's one of the most quick-witted guys I know, honestly.
Funny,
he's such good fun.
Takes piss out of everyone.
Yeah.
But people don't really see that, because when he's fishing, he's on it. When he's on the bank,
Of course he is,
he's
yeah.
on it. But he's got that side of him, which is important as well.
It is, and it's the same in the feeder team. You know, when I joined the feeder team, I put some sensible comments on the group and quickly realised that was a complete waste of time.
Well,
So,
them lot are as bad as it gets. Even just going with Rob this weekend, we've got a match this weekend at Arrow Valley, and straight away he's in that zone where he's just got one on it. Whatever you do, take the piss.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely, yeah. When we go to the World Pairs, you know, I think he spends his week trying to figure out how he can take the mick out of me the most, you know, with other people. But that, you know, when we love it, and he gets it back, and he loves it, and that's what it's all about. And having that means you're fighting for each other and you're working for each other. And I'm lucky enough to be in the feeder team at the moment, and it's fantastic. And like I said to you, that may change one day. Maybe my face doesn't fit there, and it fits back in something else. But at the moment, I can't enjoy it anymore. It's impossible. I'm just absolutely loving it.
Yeah, and travelling with the teams when you're away on international duty as well. That's when all that sort of stuff comes into play as well. When you're away,
brilliant.
if you're all stuck up together, all too serious, you're not going to enjoy being away. You're just going to get on each other's nerves.
Yeah, that's right. Listen, we have times when when it gets heated, but you're guys, and if the people that can't take it, they don't last very long. You know, like I've been everywhere with Alan Scott on, and he's absolutely brilliant, right? And we love it, and we get on so well. But we'll also be at loggerheads, you know, because we're discussing a tactic, and we're like, no, and that's just. And then 10 minutes later, he's pouring me a beer because he's a guy, you know. He just, that is how it is, and that's how you've got to be, because sometimes things need to be said to sort things out, and it's brilliant.
That's it. If you're travelling with them, then fishing with them, it's a lot of time. Like, it's a lot of time spent with anyone without falling out with them, isn't it?
Couldn't last that long with your wife, could you? Head explode. You know, that's why I have to go away. But that's there. In all seriousness, that's what it's like, and you know, and when that's how teams last, and that's why teams change and personnel changes in teams, because maybe it's for some people and not for others. But you know, it's great at the moment.
Yep. Right. Moving on from that, coaching. You seem to me like an angler that just loves sharing information, helping other people, helping other anglers. Obviously, you're an angling coach as well as angler yourself. Do you enjoy all that side of things? Getting out on the bank, you do your bits with Rob at the moment?
Yeah. Coaching is a really interesting topic, because at this moment in time, I haven't got the time to do coaching. You know, the schedule that we run with the fishing, the product testing, the development, the media commitments, everything that you're doing is massive. So I went to Rob with a proposal at the start of the year and said, look, we should run some group sessions, because that way we can get to more people and pass on more information in one day than one-on-one sessions. You know, 5 or 6 one-on-one sessions a year, it's just not right. You know, it doesn't work well. So now what I do is, if I've been out with people before, I'll take them out again, because they like to build and develop on their fishing, and I love to work with them, and you know, you get to know people. But the group days they're just fantastic. You know, me and Rob, we're straight in at people in the same way. We take the mick, usually Rob at me, but you know, we're just having a good time, and passing on a joint amount of knowledge is good. And I've always been a massive believer. Listen, I've done fishing articles now for a long time, you know, a very, very long time, and written a lot of words about fishing. At one point, you know, I was churning out 5,000-6,000 words every month, which is a lot to talk about fishing, and I like to pass that on, and maybe when I get older I will. But I feel that if by passing that on and making everybody better, if we all do that, I'll be better. So in order to be better, we've got to be better as anglers. And I see it all the time. You know, you go out with somebody and he's still fishing how they did in the 90s. You know, he's throwing a tin of corn in down the edge or whatever it might be, and listen mate, tap 5 pieces in, you'll catch one a lot better. And that'll all change in the next 10 years. Well, the coaching changes every year. The year I'm teaching things that I never thought I'd teach, because I'm we're working 2 or 3 spots in the margin. We're talking about
Yeah.
feeding and all the rest of it. It's totally different, and that's only moving on because information's moving on. So, yeah, I love it, absolutely love it, and me and Rob are doing that. You know, it's the Angling Academy. Created a website, Google Angling Academy. You can check it out, and it's a really good. They're really good sessions, and we'll do another 6 or 8 next year, and give people a chance to come and pass on some knowledge. It's brilliant.
I suppose that's it. There's so many. If you were doing it 1-on-1, you could probably say 8 out of 10 questions are going to be the same for everyone, aren't there? So it's that you've got that core bit that it doesn't matter if you're 1-on-1, 5-on-1, 10-on-1
Doesn't
sort of thing.
matter.
It's the same information. So
Yeah, and if in a groups you spend an hour or 2 with people 1-on-1 because you drop between them, but it's hard as well for the coach. So you imagine you go out with somebody and you do 1-on-1, and then you do it the next day and the next day and the next day, and you've just said it there.
try and get excited.
And it's the same questions.
Yeah.
Because those people have got the same questions, and that's fine. But then my delivery of those questions might lack enthusiasm when I'm doing it all the time, and I don't want that. As a person, I'm so enthusiastic about fishing, and we go out of the groups and we're just pumping. It's just the energy is there, and that's why they are such good days, you know. But very good. I love the coaching.
You mentioned there about sponsorship, well, the media side of things that you do. So you're sponsored by Preston Innovations, on your baits. Have been now for a good number of years.
Yeah.
10
years.
It isn't just as a sponsored angler, you're not just a sponsored angler, you are a consultant, you do a lot of the product testing things, you're very hands-on with Preston Innovations,
Very.
go for meetings at the office, have a chat, bang your heads together to get your products right. Is that something that you love being involved with?
Absolutely. Listen, fishing is my life. It is 24/7. It doesn't rest, you know. It's just ever evolving, and like some people may not appreciate it, but you know, it is appreciated within Preston Innovations because it is my life, and because I'm so engrossed in it. That's how things develop. An idea never comes from me or Des or whoever. It comes as a spark from something, from a discussion that may happen, and all of a sudden this has turned into this feeder. It's a little bit better, and everything evolves through the personnel. So I love it when people say to me, "Is that your idea?" And I go, "It's not really my idea, because it's like, you know, I've pitched the proposal.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted this to hold my side tray up, but the final product isn't mine. It's a development of those things, or help with that, and I absolutely love that." And
you could be sat there and you could just go, I could just do with something just to, you know, just hold me side tray up. There's a side tray support there.
On the group day, I've got somebody who's made something, or they've got a problem that isn't being fixed, and I'm then trying to solve it, or I'm going fishing all the time and I'm listening, and you're just involved with it, and you're helping it go on, and that level is very rare. And Rob did a fantastic podcast with you guys, and I recommend anybody listens to it, talking about the sponsorship aspect of fishing, and I agree with him. I think there is, you know, difficult and different levels of people that are doing things within fishing, and you know, I suppose my term effectively is angling consultant, because I'll get a phone call from the media guys asking me about a media question or how we approach doing the media. You know, I'm advising them and they're advising me. They advise me what to say sometimes. I advise them what video to do. We work together, and you guys working in fishing know that, and that's how it has to be.
And I suppose that's kind of the non-fishing side of things, where how you personally come across on social media, which you can effectively blow yourself up badly.
Many do, don't
like,
they,
yeah,
Rich?
just by how you act. That there are people that are possibly as good as any of the anglers out there, but are unsponsorable just because of the way they act.
Couldn't agree more. And it's the whole package, isn't it? It's the whole package. And you know, now we're talking about. I've been with Preston 10 years. I started off where I started off, and that's evolved to a point where I am a full-time angling consultant. Anyone who thinks that is full-time fishing, forget it. That doesn't exist. That is the thing that does not exist. Nobody is full-time fishing.
No.
You wouldn't want to be, you know, but involved in fishing full-time, absolutely. You know, you guys have come here this afternoon. I've written 2 articles this morning. We've gone through the images from Feeder Masters. You know, 2 articles. That's what's that, 3,000 words in a morning. You know, that is proper. And then tomorrow I'm out with Rob, and then Thursday off to the office, and Friday then we're back for a competition, and it doesn't stop at weekends as well. So, and you're constantly monitoring how you are and what you're presenting. Like you say, you could blow yourself up. I might have political views. I can't even do that, can I?
Next week you've got 3 days at the show where you're in front of the
3 days at the show, and that's exactly right. So and then you go and try and win something to prove that you can actually do it.
Yeah.
That's it. I think that's it. There's so much of a bigger skill set effectively with it, where it's not just going fishing, as you say.
Nobody sells anything by going fishing, and effectively that's what we're all in it for. It's the angling trade, and helping people, and angling in general, helping us all, to make sure that angling is in a strong place.
Final point. What are your goals for the future?
I think for me the ultimate goal is winning a world championship gold with the team. That is what I've always strived for. One European gold with the float team in Belgium. I'd have loved to have had a chance to do it in the world event. I've now got that chance. We won a bronze medal first year out in Italy, just missed out on fourth this year, and we're going to France next year. That is the goal. If you win as a team, you might get a chance individually as well. So individually, that'd be nice. But as far as I'm concerned, that is the goal, the international gold, and it won't change until I've got many.
Multiple.
Not just one.
Around the world.
Who's a swimmer who had the picture with them lined up?
That's
Michael
what I like.
Phelps.
I'm very lucky that I've been in that national winning team. I've been very lucky to win a lot of things in fishing, but to me that is what I'm working towards. And when I get that, and I have to think like that. I have to think that we will get that, and it's going to be hard. The standard is ridiculously high,
and getting better.
But the belief in those lads, and every single one of those lads in the float and feeder team thinks the same. So that's the most important thing, and we will get there, and that is the goal. So can't wait. Bring it on, France next year.
Brilliant. That wraps up Lee's life in fishing. We'll move on to the talking point.